Hello everyone, Druid Peter here, and this is Game Dev Log Video number 1. Okay, so, long story short, I've decided to throw my hat into the ring of indie game development, with my own video game offering, Duinvoorde, logo designed by myself. Of course, there's one problem. I'm basically an unknown entity in a hugely oversaturated market. So, as part of a way to remedy this, I've decided to make a series of devlog videos on the game as I progress on it over time. There should also be tutorial videos in the series covering specific aspects of game design as I complete those parts of the game myself. So, with that said, in this video, I'll just be going over a basic overview of what the game is meant to be, talk a little bit about the game loop, and finally I'll show some of the functionality I have so far, as well as various assets in the pipeline. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what this game is about. You are Sarah Vilatskova, as you can see this girl over here, right here. And she is an interdimensional mercenary. She's very capable of breaking the fourth wall. Oh, I'm sorry. You are an interdimensional mercenary, Sarah Vilatskova, who is very capable of breaking the fourth wall, and you have been contracted to stay at a centuries-old haunted castle. This thing over here, Duinvoorde Castle to be more specific, in order to clear out centuries of curses, hexes, poltergeists, and just in general overall bad juju, with your guide Dampe, who is not depicted here in the images, although you'll meet him later. The game focuses mostly on open world combat, exploration, plus puzzle solving, and life simulator type gameplay. It's also not meant to be taken 100% seriously, so while there is a horror element, it's somewhat tongue-in-cheek and comedic in nature. You can think of the game as The Legend of Zelda meets Resident Evil 2 meets Harvest Moon in terms of sort of overall vibe that I'm going for. Let's see. That's the end of that script. I'm not sure what else to say. So let's just get on to the next diagram. Okay. So here in this diagram we have a basic depiction of the general game loop and how I want the player to more or less go about playing the game. So in the game, your day is divided up quite literally into days. You have to stay at the castle for about 5 to 6 months, starting in spring, progressively getting colder to winter, when the game reaches its inevitable climax. And so in typical life simulations such as Harvest Moon or Stardew Valley, you wake up in your bed and you have to determine your plan for the day. You can, of course, explore the castle and the world, or you can undertake a castle challenge, which in this case, a castle challenge just means do one of the many quests, basically game quests type stuff. Or you can go out and gather and acquire resources. You do not have time each day to do all three things, and you have to manage your time and your resources carefully. You have to plan your time in order to figure out what each day you should do so as to better fulfill your goals in the game. And so, of course, in the process of determining which of these three things you want to do, you will then have to go into the actual gameplay aspect of the game, where you basically manage inventory. Manage NPCs over here is kind of interesting because it means you're not just. I want to have the NPCs a little bit more sophisticated in terms of AI than what you see in a lot of other games. So I want you to be able to interact with them in ways that allow them to help you achieve your goals throughout the castle in various ways. That's all I really want to say for the moment, but needless to say, NPC management, getting them to do the things you want to do, is something that I really want to be a strong part of the game. And then, of course, as you go about exploring and as you go about solving quests, you will along the way solve puzzles, and you will also engage in combat, etc. And then, of course, once you do these things, you will get the reward for doing these things. And the rewards, similar to what you see in games like Legend of Zelda, etc., you will discover additional aspects of the castle or the world, uh, discover additional quests, unlock new mini games type stuff. So basically, more stuff to do. Um, you discover so these two boxes may seem like they're saying the same thing, but actually there is a clear divide between discovering new parts of the castle, new parts of the world, new quests, new mini games, and being able to actually complete them. So when I say unlock, I really mean a good part of the game is once you've discovered a new part of the castle, I really want the player to have to think about how to actually progress through that new level, that new area. Or once you've unlocked a new quest or a new challenge, often the player you won't have the ability to actually successfully complete that quest. Usually you'll have to do something else in order to figure out or be successful at the quest or at the minigame, etc. So there's a clear divide between the unlocking and the discovery of the new stuff, and then doing stuff in order to be able to progress and complete and defeat the challenges, which is why they're called challenges here in this game flow, in this flow chart, as opposed to simple quests. Quests are not simple. It's you really need to think about how to manage your resources and your time in order to solve and complete quests. Hence why they're challenges. And then, of course, in the process of doing these things, you also can increase or get new abilities. You can level up your skills. You get new items, which of course play into the game loop overall. And then you can do as much of this as you can before basically the day ends, or you run out of general stamina, and at some point Sarah will have to rest, so you'll have to determine how to rest. You may not always be able to rest in your bed in the cabin by dawnbreak. You may have to rest in precarious situations depending on what you're doing elsewhere. You'll have to manage your resources and make sure you don't overwork yourself, or you could get yourself into a situation that might be quite unpleasant. Now you'll notice that there's actually two kind of divides. So this game, The Legend of Zelda and Resident Evil gameplay is somewhat more segmented off from the life sim and goof off and minigame style type of gameplay. So the blue you can think of as Resident Evil / Legend of Zelda style gameplay, and then the purple you can think of as kind of a sub game loop or a parallel game loop, which is more dating sim, life simulator, Harvest Moon simulator style gameplay. Remember, you're staying at this castle for several months. You need to eat. You need to get to know Dompe and other NPCs. Well, you may want to, depending on how your playthrough is. You may want to take it easy for a bit, you know? I mean, fighting difficult monsters, unraveling mysteries, getting into stressful and getting out of stressful situations can take a toll. So I also want the game to have a kind of integrated system for relaxing and not have it always be this super adrenaline fueled rush. The blue is primarily going to be stuff that you more adrenaline filled. The purple is more lower key, softer, more relaxing, and I want the game to cater to both types of players. So if you really, really, really can handle a lot of high adrenaline rush and you really would just want to go and kill combat and crush monsters and kick them all out of the castle, you can do that by staying primarily in the blue. But if you want to progress through the game, you can complete the game primarily doing Farmville, not Farmville. What's the Harvest Moon, Stardew Valley style interactions. So you can grow crops, farm animals, and do chores. And there are chores because you're not just a mercenary trying to kick and kill all the poltergeists and the ghosts and kick them out of the castle, but you also have been contracted out to fix damages, to repair parts of the castle, to clean things up. You can increase your relationships with various NPCs in the game, and of course you can play mini games with various NPCs in the game. And then doing these things will enable you to get money, get cosmetics, as well as various other special items. So, for completing various things, you can get items that will help you in ways other than just straight up combat or exploration. Though plenty of those too. You also get to, of course, unlock new character interactions and scenes with NPCs that you wouldn't be able to unlock if you just focused on the combat side of things. And then, of course, doing well in the Harvest Moon style gameplay, game loot will alter the world state. It will open up possibilities in the world, in the game, that will enable you to progress through the game and eventually remove the curse on the castle and do everything without necessarily having such a heavy emphasis on combat. Basically, the more you progress in purple, the more you'll be able to progress in purple, as opposed to being forced to progress primarily in blue, which is primarily the Resident Evil combat fight difficult situation. So the purple, as a result, is kind of a reward, and the more you do in purple, the more you'll be able to progress in the game and even defeat the game without having to rely so much on the blue, so to speak. Of course, if you don't progress in the purple at the beginning of the game or at all, then it's blue all the way, just combat, defeat the bosses, stuff like that. So that's basic game loop and how the thing I want to do is set up. Now that I've gone over that, and really this has just been a very general overview of what I'm trying to do and what I would like the game to encompass. Let's see. I will probably go into more detail about more aspects of the game in future videos, but for now, this really is just a general overview. So, let's now go over and do a short showcase on what I already have. So let's see how far I've come in essentially a month and a half. Okay. So, let's take a look at... I'm just going to show off some of the assets that I have. For the style game, I have... Sorry. So here's a start menu. The background image is actually an artwork by QueenOfEagle, who is a deviant on DeviantArt. I will have a link to her gallery in the video description. She is an amazing artist, and it was actually because I kind of got myself into a bit of a pickle with this particular artwork that this video game Duinvoorde exists as it does today. If I had never seen this artwork by her, I never would have gotten to the point as far as I have with this particular video game in the way that I have. So I owe her a lot for that. Uh, I believe that I can put a link to the video and also a video card at the end of this video that'll go into a little bit more description regarding how regarding her part in all of this, so to speak. Of course, there's the game logo and there's the options, which is nice. Nothing too fancy. Let's see. I have a load menu. Please ignore the tininess. It's basic, but load game. And of course, if you have saves, you should be able to load. Now, I'm using Godot engine, and I really, really, really like this engine. This, everything that you see here, this is not just a mock-up. I can attach scripts to these elements for game functionality already. So it's not just design. Having the user interface laid out like this already is 80% of the way towards completing functionality for user interface elements like this, which is really nice. Let's see, start menu, which I did, and then load menu, which I have. So let me go over to the overworld, and now let's play the demo so I can show you what we've got. Okay. Ta-da! Well, so far, clearly there's lots of work to do. But, so this is Sarah. This is the girl you'll be playing as. She does have an animated walk cycle, though it's not final. She can jump. She doesn't have animated jump yet. She does have the ability to aim a gun, although because the code base is the way it is currently, the gun is not visible. That's my fault. But just imagine an AK-47 right there. And this is the cabin, where you will be spending many a night with your guide through the castle and just in general in this dimension, because keep in mind, remember that Sarah is from a different dimension. And this is Dompe's cabin, where you will be staying due to his gracious hospitality. Hopefully I can get a lot of interaction here. I want to be able to have a minigame with the bar. Oh, a word about the camera. So I put a lot of effort into having a kind of dynamic camera that zooms in and zooms out. In crowded environments, the camera is a little bit closer to you. But then as you go out into, open world environments, the camera pulls back a little bit. The camera functionality is definitely in beta state and does need to be improved, but it works well enough for the current process of game development. Okay, so that's Dompe's room. Here's the restroom. I kind of messed up about the shower. I legitimately did. I completely forgot to put a shower in there, or like anything else like a sink, so that's awkward. But there will be a wash basin outside over here that you can use, both to wash your clothing as well as to bathe in and various other things. There is no garden yet, but that's because, a la Stardew Valley style, you will be actually building your garden. And you can also go outside the castle grounds in the environment. It's a big open world out there to hunt meat, chop trees, get wood, mine in caves, stuff like that. Good stuff, good stuff. Close the door. Let's see. This is Dompe's room. I kind of screwed up the mesh for the cabin, so his closet is kind of missing a wall there, but and he also doesn't have a bed. I had a large bed in here, but the cabin is so small already that I figured I would have to just give him like a cot or something. So that's nice. I'm gonna close his door. Okay, I may have to restart the game after this because I don't remember if the sleep menu triggers. Oh yeah, and this is Sarah's room. Best view in the house, right? Let's see, if I press... Yes, you can rest, but I'm not going to because I don't have the logic for it. Oh, and I also have to exit out because the logic for exiting out of that menu, oddly enough, has not been implemented. Whoops, my bad. I need to, yeah, I need to connect the, add a little bit more of that logic. Let's see here. So let's do this. I also have this closet right here, Sarah's closet, and not only does it open, but it animates open and it triggers a menu. That took a lot. I'm so happy at that. I can exit out because the logic for that is a little bit more done. Okay, so you see how the camera is now super close to me? That's a bug in the dynamic camera that needs to be fixed. The camera can get stuck like this, and it looks like that is what it has done. So, crap. I can usually unstuck it if I kind of go through. Yeah, there we go. I'm not sure exactly why it does that yet, but I'll figure it out. Okay, so now that I've unstuck the camera to myself, what else can we do? Oh, that's weird. Why is... I'm pressing B, but the game menu is not opening. That is a problem. That is a huge problem, and that is a bug that I have just discovered. Let's see what's going on over here. Player. Okay, we are definitely in uncharted territory, folks. This is the game menu. The game menu. Why is it not activating? I do not have the time to debug this right now, so I'm just going to have to show this in the editor for now. Granted, it's not a lot. Obviously, you'll have the map accessible over here. You will have your player stats over here. You'll also be able to access journal and lore, which will be significant later on. But primarily, most of the logic I've implemented on the game menu is the inventory system, which is a shame I can't show you guys, because apparently it's not activating, and I don't think I can debug in real time, so I'll have to figure something out. I'll have to show that with the next video. That's a shame. But you get weapons, equipment, food and meds, special, and of course utility. So the essentials for an open world exploration slash combat slash puzzle game. Very, very Legend of Zelda-y and Resident Evil 2-y-ish. Okay, what else have we got? I could go outside the castle and walk around, but honestly there's not that much to show, so I'm just going to zoom out in the overworld. By the way, this is the map for the overworld, and fairly large, small for an open world game, but for a platformer style game, the level is quite large. You get all of this to explore, except for the boundaries of the map, and this area right here is going to be ocean. because it's near the coast. Though we will, obviously there's no ocean right now, but there, oh, sorry, not there, over here. This side of the map will be ocean. Obviously there's no ocean right now, but hey, it's a work in progress. This is the road system. There will be at least one car or bicycle in this video game that will enable you to travel around the map a little bit faster on the road, which is going to be nice. I really like that. Okay, so let me just save all scenes, and then let me go over to Blender and show some of the animations that I'm working on. So, obviously the walking animation was visible in the game demo, but we have more animations. So there's aim rifle, which you saw. Okay, there's her aiming a gun. Not bad. Let's see. We also have combat walk, so she is capable of walking while aiming. Ignore that gap. That's just because the way the armature is set up, the animation only goes to 40 frames. But the way Blender and Godot treats this is different. So in Godot, when I import this animation, it will loop naturally. And that's really all that's necessary. Let's see. Let me hide the armature again. So combat walk. We also have, that's the idle, which you've seen. Ignore the clipping of the breasts and the clothing. I'm going to have to figure something out. We have, I showed you the walk cycle. I do have a run cycle. So, there we go. Obviously nothing too fancy. All of these animations are going to be polished later on, but perfectly good for a start. I think that's actually pretty good for a start. Let's see. And then I also have, let's see. Where's the climb cycle? Where's the climb cycle? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It's not here. Oh, here it is. Whew. Oh, God, that scared me. I spent hours working on the climb cycle. Okay. Climb cycle. For when you need to climb up stuff. I'm very pleased with this because this was painful to do. But and then finally I have both backflip and forward flip. Oh dear. So let's do a backflip. Go this way. This one, while it took me a while, I'm definitely still gonna have to adjust and polish up a bit, but the general form of the action is pretty good and well defined. So that's that. And then that's the, oh, right. And then of course I can use the same animation for front flipping, which is the same thing, but it's nice. Okay. Obviously clipping issues will need to be worked out. I do want to have multiple outfits in the game, although I don't currently have any to show you. That's fine. So now let me open up some of the, let me go to the Duinvoorde overworld in Blender because I have more. Okay, so this is Duinvoorde Castle. Beautiful, isn't it? Now you'll notice that in the Godot editor and demo, these towers and buildings were visible, and this was as well, but all of this was not. And the reason for that is because if I zoom in on this tower, the meshes are a lot cleaner and are manifold. They're entirely within themselves, closed off shapes, And as a result, you don't get strange visual glitches. So if I go over, say, to this mesh right here, you'll notice that there's no thickness to this roof. It's just a mesh, like a flat, infinitely thin mesh. And that has caused problems when imported into Godot, mainly with the issue of backface culling. As a result, in the game, you'll see this side of the mesh perfectly straightforwardly, but if the camera is like here, you won't see this. It'll be invisible. The underside of the tower roof will be invisible. So the same thing occurs with these pavilions versus, say, this pavilion. This pavilion, you'll see it no matter what angle you are in the game, versus this pavilion, you'll only see it from here, but if you're underneath it, it'll be invisible. Now, I know that in the Godot game editor, you can enable or disable backface culling, and originally I was going to do that, but for various other performance issues and considerations, I decided that it would be better not to go that route and just to refactor all the meshes so that everything is manifold. Granted, that means I'm having to redo all of this in the castle, which is upsetting, but the castle's not 100% complete anyways, so go figure. And then, of course, we have the road, and then over here we also have at least a flat plane for where the water line is going to be. Though it's not quite turned into ocean just yet. I'm also thinking that over here in like this general area or that general area, I'm going to add some islands that the player will be able to swim out to. But it's not too crazy. You know, some islands for some additional content. Maybe that'll be a DLC. So the overworld is doing various things. You'll notice that there was grass in the Godot editor, but the land over here is completely barren. There's a reason for that, one which I will probably discuss in a future game devlog video. Let's see here. Finally, let me head over to some of the items that I have 3D modeled. So I find it really funny, the idea of, oh, by the way, so this Celt rune sword is actually directly inspired by a Shpwright, who is another artist that I follow on DeviantArt. I will have his link, a link to his DeviantArt profile in the description below the video if you want to check out his stuff. He has really good stuff and style. And so I have decided to, oh man, to make the Celt rune sword. It's not finished, but this is going to be one of the awesome weapons you can use in the game. And fun fact, it's literally taller than Sarah herself. So using it is going to be interesting. Now if I take off the Celt rune sword, if I hide that, I can enable a weapon of my own design, the Ugly Stick. This will be your Ugly Stick. It's not finished yet. I still need to do the handle, but it's basically steel rebar with specific indentations on it that make it very, very, very painful. Perfect for punishing disobedient NPCs. As well as giving a few of them rewards, if they're into that sort of thing. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, if you know what I mean. Let's see, and then one of the third weapons is the Simian Paw, but I have not modeled that at all, so I have nothing to show on that end, sadly. Let's see here. Finally, I should be able to open the guns, except I'm not entirely sure. Well, it's not there, that's for sure. Material showcases? No, not there. Characters, objects. Objects? Huh. 2D assets, 3D assets. It's gotta be in here then. And it needs to be purchased? No. Weapons over here. Guns, no. Noya 50. It may be in here. Ah, yes. Lots of guns. Okay. So I hate to burst your bubble, but only these are the modern guns that Sarah's bringing from her dimension. So we've got nice, nicer, adorable, and oh, baby. These guns are assets which I acquired elsewhere from Turbo Squid to help me save time. And these are the weapons that Sarah brings from her own home dimension into the dimension and world of Duinvoorde. They represent a level of technology that is not available in Duinvoorde, and as a result, you can think of them kind of like really powerful weapons that will help you, but once you're out of ammo, you're pretty much out of ammo. And you'll have to rely on Duinvoorde era dimension weapons. So you can think of them kind of like things to use if you're really, really stuck. They help in a lot of ways, but they're also limited. You're limited in the fact that you don't get a free pass. They're incredibly powerful and they're great to use to get you out of a tricky situation, but that's not what I wanted. I need to go to the old guns. Blends. Oh crap. There'll also be crossbows and various other things. There's also some weapons that Dompe will give you. There's also Duinvoorde era guns, which are... I could have sworn I had... Well, this is odd. I can't seem to find Dompe's weapons. That's upsetting. Wait, don't save. No, no, no. Oh, old guns. Here they are. Okay, there we go. And this is the era of firepower that we see in Duinvoorde, and these are Dompe's weapons, as Dompe is a war veteran. So here we have this. Oh, right, it's because I haven't messed with these. Sorry for the checkerboard texture, I'll have to fix that. He's got some rifles from the war. He's also got an older style flintlock pistol, and I guess that's it. Yeah, no, you don't get too much with Dompe, sadly. Guns are a bit more expensive and a bit more difficult to use in the world of Duinvoorde, so oh well. You won't enjoy using them nearly as much as the modern stuff, but hey, that's why it's the adventure. Okay, so that's where I'm at right now. Let me go back to Godot. Yeah. And this has been episode 1 of my game dev adventure. Hopefully this game can come out in under a year. Maybe if I can get some help. Definitely I'll be plugging a subscribe star account down in the description and in the end credits. But if you've stayed with me this long, I just want to thank you. If you feel like you would like to play a game like this, then wish me luck. But thank you very much for being there, and onward with the adventure.